Hey everyone, this is Steve at He Speaks For You channel, and the topic I'm going to talk about today is Herman Cain. And I wanted to bring up the good with the bad. And what I mean by that is I wanted to discuss a lot of allegations that he's been going through with harassment and so forth. But I also wanted to talk also about his views and what he stands for, because I believe that we need to get to know what exactly is that we're voting for and who people really are. And I'm going to begin with his these allegations that are going on. In my opinion, I think that a lot of this is just a lot of hype that's going on with the media. I believe that if these people, these women, were harassed, they should have come forward during that time and not now. I feel that there should be some type of statute of limitations on when a person is able to come forward to give certain accusations towards another person. And of course there should be certain guidelines even within that. But I think there's a bit of a monetary interest. Like I said, I mean, if in fact, I've also heard people say that it wasn't the people themselves that came forward. It was somebody else from another candidate's campaign. Specifically, what I heard was that it was someone that's working with the campaign of Rick Perry had blown the whistle on these incidents. And if that's the case, technically it's all hearsay, especially if the people don't want to come forward and talk about it. You know, I think that slandering or defamation of character, not only on Herman Cain, but also the women involved, you know, how that's going to affect their lives now, since someone else has come forward for them, if that is the case. You know, and I think there should be some repercussions if that's the case and somebody else is doing you know, defamation of character. I think those people should suffer some repercussions. Or if the party that they're campaigning for is pushing it forward, then that campaign party should get some repercussions as well from it. I don't think it's right. I think it's dirty politics that's going on. Again, like I said, if that indeed happened, I think that those women should have come forward before and not now that he has the public eye and the media's attention. But moving on to something more important, which is also what he stands for and what he believes in. And like I said, I'm telling you the good with the bad, the right with the wrong. I'm not a fan of Herman Cain, but you know, I also, you know, you gotta be open-minded and see what people stand for and what other people's intentions are towards him. And like I already mentioned, my thoughts on these allegations and things that people are saying about him with the harassment and so forth. And that could be basically a topic in itself, and you know, what constitutes for harassment and everything. And yes, you know, if one person doesn't feel comfortable with something else that another person is saying, absolutely, that's a form of harassment. But you also need to not wait and sit on it for several years until that person becomes successful or monetarily stable, where then now you want something out of it. I just think that's if it didn't bother you enough before when it actually happened, why is it bothering you now? That's just the way I see it. In the very beginning, when he did one of the first GOP debates that he was in, they've asked him his thoughts on foreign policy, and he said that he didn't know much on the foreign policy, but that he would have people that would tell him what would be the best decision for him to do when that time would come. And the way I see it is that if that's the case, he doesn't have his own opinion on certain things, and he will easily be influenced by you know, people that can become influential, or corporations that can become influential. I can't remember the name of the journalist that actually said that he considered him because he had said that about his foreign policy, that they called him an ignoramus. And you know, I think we all should have our own opinion. You know, whether we know all the facts or not, we should still have an opinion on a candidate. Another thing is that he's never held public office. I don't think that should be a problem, because that doesn't make you a better candidate or not. He also had mentioned at some point in the beginning that he would not have a Muslim work in his cabinet, in his office. You know, I think that shows discrimination of religion, and you know, it sounds like a lot of cycle talk, like other people have mentioned. And then later he's backtracked. And he said that no, that he would allow someone of a Muslim background or belief be in his office. And you know, he basically flip-flops a lot. Even MSNBC has come out and talked about how there's three candidates that have flip-flopped a lot, and Herman Cain being the main one. Also Rick Perry and Mitt Romney, they flip-flopped in their ideas based on who they're talking to. And you know, other things that Herman Cain has flip-flopped a lot on is his views on homosexuality. And he first says it's a sin, and then he turns around and says it's a choice. So what is it? You know, in one instance he says he's pro-life, and in another instance he says he's pro-choice. And within the same conversation, he may say that he's pro-life, and in the very next sentence he'll say that it's a woman's choice what she does with her body, and that the government shouldn't get involved. So what is it? You know, are you not able to explain yourself properly? If that's the case, you know, at what point do you draw the line to say this is exactly what I believe in? You know, because then he's basically just flip-flopping, and down the line, if whatever he does, then people are going to say, oh, well, that's not what you said, and he's going to be like, well, yeah, that's what I did say, you know, and that's what I meant. Well, can you just flat out say what you really believe in, or how you really feel, you know, or do you just flip-flopping back and forth, you know? Is the sky blue or is it red? I mean, are they apple or are they oranges? I mean, it's not you know, brain science. Anyhow, the other thing is he also talked about the 999 plan that he has, and then in another instance, because he was talking to lower income people, he said that no, that it would be a 909, and in another instance he said it was an 888 plan. So what is it? Is it 999, 909, 888? I mean, you know, I mean it doesn't seem that for a businessman, it doesn't seem that he's really puts a lot of thought into things, and and looked at the wide range and scenarios and where it can lead. Because right now it may be a 999, and then 10 years from now, when he's no longer in office, if he would be the one that would be in office, then they could change it to a 20-20-20 plan. So at what that doesn't make any sense to me. And for example, I live in Florida, and he talks about a 9% sales tax. Right now we have a 6% for the state, and 0.5% for the county. So basically 6.5%, or you can say 7% sales tax. So that would mean that we would now have a 9%. That how is that supposed to help me, or help any of us? Also, he talks about capital gains tax at 9%. Well, so now the big corporations that are at a 35% tax bracket, now they're going to be at a 9% tax bracket. So you're helping the rich out. It doesn't make sense. It's just, I don't think he's put a lot of thought into it. He flip-flops around too much. In one incident, he was interviewed, and he came out and he basically called Americans stupid. And I don't think that's what that's really the kind of leader that we would want to have representing us, if that's how you foresee Americans. Whether it's true or not, you shouldn't say it. And it's funny, is a lot of times he uses labels to gain some sympathy with certain groups of people, and he may categorize Tea Partiers or liberals, Republicans, Democrats, and we're going down to the whole labeling thing. And if you've seen some of my other videos, you know how I feel about labeling. I think it's just a way that people say things in order to separate each other. I'm not in favor of that at all. And he talks about he uses the word sin as an acronym, and he says that the S is shift the subject, the I is ignore the fact, and N is name calling. And he for one does it all the time. He shifts the subject because he flip flops, and he ignores the facts because he really doesn't know, has an opinion on foreign policy, or hasn't thought through the idea of 999. And he uses name calling. He does a whole labeling thing, and and so forth. And the other thing he likes to do is, I always see him say, with all due respect, and then he goes on and he attacks. And I say to him, well, with all due respect, this is exactly how it is. And I tell you the good with the bad and the right with the wrong. I just see, if he was to come out, I just see another puppet in the White House. Hopefully he's not the person that people decide on, and they look beyond the labeling or the religious aspect, and or even maybe the color of his skin. I mean, hopefully everybody looks beyond that and looks at what the person actually stands for when making their decision. This is Steve at E Speaks For You. Hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe.